everything in the shop that you see is a story of my life. Like the names on the menu, right? The Sway Burger, it has chips on it. I'm from a neighborhood called Spanaway. We call it the Sway, right? It's like South Seattle. It's in the hood. Okay. You know what I mean? As a kid, we put ruffled chips on PB&Js. Like everyone did that, but it was like that. You remember biting into it, dude? And it was like the craziest texture. It was like, this is something new, something exciting. And I never could live without it. So I created a burger after it from a place that I'm from. So if you start looking at the restaurant of whatever the words are on the wall or how it's designed, it's my entire life story painted in a restaurant.
This episode is sponsored by Southern Utah Safe and Vault. It's one-stop shop, buy, education, delivery, everything you need with the safe or a vault door. Website is safesfirst.com. Their showroom is 1397 West, Sunset Boulevard, number 115 in St. George, Utah. Phone number is 435-767-7878. Hey guys, welcome back to the Derek Legg podcast. We're back in the vault. Another episode 97. We're getting close to that episode 100. Everyone says I need to do something fancy and kind of got no ideas. So we'll see in 3 episodes what we end up doing. I've got a guest in here today, local. He's a lot of things. He's kind of his day job, I guess, is a local chef. Fairly new restaurant right on Sunset, just down the street from our Safe store. And I'll kind of let him tell more about it. But this is Cory LaFranchi. How's it going, man?
Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for having me on your show, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
This is going to be fun. I've actually listened to a lot of my other episodes.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I always say, listen, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I guess this is like
it
my
ever fun,
tagline.
man? Yeah.
No. Well, I feel like I'm like faking it when I say that, but it's always because I kind of, like what we just did before we went live, we kind of talked for a little bit, got to know each other a little bit. Like I met you here, right? I didn't know you before. And then I'm like excited. Yeah. And so in my mind, I'm always like, cool, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be fun.
Hey, maybe you're going to have fun.
Yeah.
No, I'll speed it up for you.
No, we'll be good. Okay. So street eats.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about it. Give me a little kind of a nutshell paragraph about it. And what you're trying to accomplish, what you offer.
Yeah.
And then we'll just dive in.
Sweet. All right. So Street Eats, first and foremost, I started the company with $200, a pop-up tent and a grill. And then it evolved to what it is now. Over the past decade, Street Eats has just been me cooking different foods that I'm either learning or trying to produce, or just anything that has comfort, right? Burgers and tacos and chef snacks, like it's comfortable.
Oh yeah,
right?
Tell me about comfort and food.
Yeah, man. So that's what we do. It's not necessarily a set kind of menu. It's a bunch of chefs creating food, and it's an open kitchen. Come and hang out with us, give us ideas, and we'll create it. Essentially, it's a community restaurant. Is how I look at it. Right.
Awesome.
It's just for the community.
Is there anything like that here? I mean, that's a different concept.
Dude, that's a way different concept. Yeah, we didn't open up with, okay, we're going to be this burger shop. This is all we're going to do. This is the menu. You're going to cook this for 20 years.
Right. What's the cheapest product we can kick out multiple times?
Dude,
right.
and like enjoy your life and like see you later. No, it's like, we source the best products that we can, right? We're using Creekstone Farms, which is rated like number 3 in the world. And that's for your burgers, for your flank steaks, for all of our product is Creekstone. And that is super rare to see in a fast casual, right? Because that's going to dive into that bottom line to some people. Mm-hmm. For us, it's just so fun to prepare that. And we want to put it into handheld foods for the community to experience high quality food, right? So yeah, man, we play around with food. We create food. We just want to hang out with the community. There's nothing like, we just want to feed you. That's our mission statement, right? Is we just want to feed you. There's no if, ands, or buts. Like, this is why we're here and what we're doing. It gets us all excited. It's
awesome.
So dope.
So yeah, right there on Sunset.
Yeah.
Do you have like, trying to think of what's right next to you that would kind of.
So we have the UPS store. There's
That's right.
Hungry Howie's. There's Tia's. There's Dub's Barbecue. So we're right there on that front face.
Right
of that.
before that old Maverick and.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Perfect. What's your guys' hours over there? Because you're closed a couple weekdays, right?
Yep. We just recently closed on Tuesdays. We were only closed on Mondays, but your boy needed a day off. So we're doing closed Monday and Tuesdays. We're open from 11 to 9, Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay. Do
Yep.
you see that Monday, Tuesday are slower days, or why Monday, Tuesday?
I knew I wanted to be open Sunday here.
Okay.
Everybody was closed Sunday, and
Sure.
I thought it was super weird, but
is.
hey, man, that's none of my business. So I'm going to open. And I opened on Sunday and offered, it's a crazy story. So we had a chicken sandwich on our food truck called the Dixie Chicken, right? It's named after the Dixie Chicks.
And this was in Seattle.
No idea about St. George and Dixie and all of that. No idea. So we move here, and that was like the controversy between Dixie and all of that. And I was like, no, dude, we're putting the Dixie Chicken on a Sunday, and we're going to open Sunday. So, and Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. So your boy is going to do a chicken sandwich, man. It's been like the coolest vibe, like huge church groups coming through, huge amounts of people just on Sundays just for that chicken sandwich.
That's cool.
So
So
yeah, man.
let me backstory that a little more. So you're straight out of Seattle.
Yeah.
Started this, like you said, tent on the side, turned into a food truck.
Yeah.
Kind of went from construction to food truck to construction to food truck.
Yeah.
Or maybe not food truck, but the industry, food, construction, food. And then 2020, and you're hitting accolade after accolade.
Yeah.
Out there in Seattle, upcoming chef, and then COVID hits and food industry takes a dump.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that. What was the feel like in Seattle? You were obviously gaining a ton of traction, so to have that kick in the nuts, if you want to say it, like that it's a blue state. Maybe I don't know the right way to say this. It's a blue state, so they shut down everything, and restaurants took a huge hit.
Yeah. Restaurants were the hardest. It was both a ghost town in Seattle and like Gotham City. Like just had a baby, and it was a hybrid, and it's even getting worse now. But yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, man, started on the job site, kind of just cooking food for, people that were around me, people in my crew, just me, just doing the thing.
Love it. You loved it.
I loved it, man. I couldn't get away from it. And whatever career, and it's crazy to think about because, you're making 6 figures in construction. Some people are like, dude, I'm going pension, 401k, like this is it. I'm going to ride this thing to the grave. And I wanted to be a cook. Like, so did that. Then the company I was working for up north of Seattle just locked its doors, padlocks on the doors. I went into work and I had no job. So I had to move back home down south, with my mom. And she's been in the food and beverage industry forever. I used to run around kitchens when I was 5, 6 years old, so I grew up in it. So I didn't ever think like, okay, I grew up in this. This is where I'm going. I'm going in the kitchen. Anyways, I was like, hey, I need a job. I don't know any other construction jobs around. I can't get into the hall. And the hall is where you wait to get back into the union. Okay. Right? They're going to place you somewhere. So she's like, you can go down, get a job at Salty's. And Salty's was like a fine dining seafood restaurant on the water on the Puget Sound. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna hop down on that. Went down there and, thinking I could be a busser, maybe pick up some chicks in the summer and just like hang out with everyone vibing. And he's like, yeah, I got a dishwasher job, $10 an hour. I was like, yeah, that's not really what I envisioned, but hey man, like, let me get on these dishes. Like I need to make some money. I'm living with my mom. Like, I'm rock bottom, if you will, in my own mind.
Sure.
Dude, the pace and the feel of a restaurant when it's busy is nothing that it's like, I don't know, like a performer, if you will, like going to a big concert and they just killed it. Like that's how it feels, that energy between people and the servers, front of house, back of house, and it just captured me right then. It didn't take long. It was like a month into this, and I'm taking dishes serious at that point. I'm getting it. And then I just told my mom, I was like, I think I want to go to culinary school. I want to like explore that. So I ended up going to Le Cordon Bleu, graduating with my bachelor's in business management and in culinary arts. And then I just started like studying chefs, looking for what are the best chefs I can work for, right? So I'm going through the city, and I'm at Pike Place Market. I'm going through looking at the produce and talking to people. So I'm getting in, I'm doing some things.
Getting immersed.
Dude, I'm immersed at that point, dude. And people are just like, this kid won't leave us alone. Let's get him into this kitchen. So I did that, had my daughter in 2011. And that was a big thing, like commuting into the city, working, long hours, things like that, and making $14 an hour. I'm not knocking those restaurants because I was learning a ton, but I knew just I needed to provide for my family. Like I didn't want to be, like my dad, not to bring anything personal, but a deadbeat dad not around. I knew I wanted to shape my family's future. So yeah, man, I went back into construction. I did that for a long time. And then throughout the construction, like I was saying on our lunch breaks, I'm busting out the grill, man, I'm cooking. And then it was kind of back and forth, and then when my wife turned 30, we went out to Philly because my mom lived in South Philly. We cooked her this home cooked meal for her 30th birthday, and yeah, it sparked everything for me. I was going out to like Steven Starr's restaurants, and he's a huge restaurateur in Philly alone. Huge barbecue restaurants, huge fine dining restaurants. And, we're going around eating, and, 3 a.m. you get a Philly cheesesteak. That'll change your life, let alone anything else. So Philly. I was just like, dude, like I need to be back in this industry. Went back home, and I told my wife, I was like, how much can I put on this pop-up? Because pop-ups were a brand new thing. And a pop-up is pop-up restaurant, like a speakeasy, if you will. And it gave platforms to dishwashers, cooks, bussers, servers, anybody that wanted to create something on their own. Because in the kitchen industry, you rise the ranks, right? You're going from your dishwasher to a prep cook, to a line cook, to a junior sous chef, to a sous chef, to executive sous. You got chef de cuisines, executive chef. So this ladder it's like a corporate ladder, if you will. So pop-ups just allowed you to put up your own money, create your own menu, and invite the people. So we did that. Sold out in an hour, if not less time than that. Dude, it was over for me. Like once I was cooking, I was like, all right, I got something to tell you. And I was speaking to people through food, and I was telling these stories, and I was bringing the crowds with me, like they're a part of my story. Yeah, accolades started happening. Not that I care about them or I was looking for them. This is pure passion, pure, like I'm telling you something. I don't care if you give me an award or talk to me or anything like that. Like just watch what I have to tell you. But yeah, man, I got voted best chef of Seattle 2019, within that food truck, we opened the food truck which was a disaster. It was just a disaster. I went down to Portland, bought this thing. It died on the freeway with my son in the cab, no AC, no nothing, 20 minutes after I gave these people a check. And I was like, sweetie, I messed up. Like, I'm going to have to work the rest of my life to pay this thing off. Got that all fixed up. And we have a food critic. Her name was Sue Kidd. Sue Kidd is kind of like our Jonathan Gold of Seattle. She doesn't go into restaurants very often. She's anonymous. But when she writes about you,
Put you on the map.
It'll put you on the map instantly. And she doesn't write on restaurants within, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, something like that. She'll let kind of everybody work things out, which honestly, my advice, that's what you should do. If you try a restaurant and it sucks, give it 2 or 3 more chances. Don't just hop on Yelp or Google and be like, yo, this place sucks, 1 star. Like, cool. Like, no. So she understood that. But we were making so much noise in the streets at night that she wrote about us within a month of opening and just blew her away. And then she was obsessed with writing on our food because we were always changing. We were, everything
it's a new
like
review
that.
Every time.
Dude, it was amazing. So yeah, Best in Chef 2019 got or best food truck 2019. And then we partnered in, opening up this cocktail lounge for some friends downtown. Gorgeous thing. We designed it, got menu up. 2 weeks after opening that, pandemic, bro. We just sat there. We're like, dude, we bought, Pappy Van, like the 10-year, 15, 20, like our whiskey collection alone was like $250,000.
Jeez.
And dude, we're 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're sitting on all this inventory. Bro, just popped open a bottle and we just started drinking it, talking about what was next. And, we tried to do, with the food truck, I was like, we'll run the food truck menu out of here. Cause it had to be like, we had to wash the pen before we gave it to people. And just like there's some weird stuff. And then it just like, Seattle's beautiful, but when you're locked down and you're in Seattle, it's horrible, dude. It's raining all the time. It's dark all the time. And it's crazy to talk about that because like, when you live there, you don't see the gray clouds and, you don't see the spring. It, in our eyes, it's a beautiful place to live. But when you're locked down in pretty much prison, it's not a place you want to be.
It's like when the city comes alive. Like
Dude,
that's what it,
yeah.
I mean, when you were talking about that, I'm like, well, that's what it is. Like it's the people that make the city alive.
Absolutely. So after that, man, it was a lot of discussions and we never lived out of the state. We didn't know anybody that did move out of the state, except for my mom. She lived in South Philly, but she opened up, international IKEAs. Okay. So like she was used to just like, and we just lived our life through her. Like, I was like, oh, you're in Amsterdam? Like, tell me about that, things like that. So we decided to sell it all, packed the family up in the fifth wheel, and shipped all our stuff to Vegas, went straight to Huntington Beach. We took coastline all the way from Seattle to Huntington, chilled on the beach for like a week. We were like, this is life. Like, dude, people live like this. Like, can you believe people live like this? And, dude, moved up to St. George. We didn't have a house planned out, nothing. Like we sold our house, moved. Yeah. Like, we didn't know if we could rent, if we could buy, what the market was going to do. We stayed at what is that? Oasis Palms off the boulevard behind now it's called the Pickler, I think.
Yeah.
The new indoor
Rite Aid or.
Yeah. Behind the Rite Aid, dude. Yeah. There's a little spot. Bro, day 3, monsoon rolls through or whatever you guys have with this heavy rainfall. Bro, water was flowing onto the boulevard. It was like 6 feet deep. And we're like, what do we do? Like it rains in Seattle, but this is something like this is wild. Man, lived in that for 6 weeks and then the kids had to go to school and we're like, well, we can't do school and not find this house. So luckily enough, dude, we found a house right downtown. And we knew nothing about downtown, anything like that. We knew we had to be close to some kind of heartbeat of a city. And found it, bought it. 2 weeks after that, dude, interest rates, everything was skyrocketing. People couldn't even get a house fast enough. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, can I rent out your front lawn for my tent? It's like, dude, it just was crazy. So it was this huge curse that turned into a blessing that we just picked up and just went with it without anything in mind.
Yeah.
It was wild.
So what did you do between that and then opening the restaurant?
Dude, we were cooking food out of our garage. Yeah. Dude, once we found out you could sell food out of your house in Utah, I didn't know that. Yeah, dude. Laws, like agriculture laws and stuff allow you to sell to your community, and you see a ton of amazing companies here in Utah, all based out of their house, know, no overhead, no nothing. Either it's cake, cookies, things like that. I think we were one of the first to do a full-on restaurant setup. I had a deep fryer, we had the grill, we had the flat top, full menus, awesome. Bro. Dining room table in my driveway where we had just, pop-up tents around. We were going back to the roots. We were like, hey, we know the pop-up tent thing works.
We've done this.
We've done this. It wasn't scary to us at that point. And we just kind of started on social media, and then the news stations started picking us up, and then the bigger news stations and then magazines here in town were writing about us. And, the St. George Chamber was writing about us constantly, and everyone could not stop talking that we had a restaurant in our driveway, bro. And it was crazy because it's like, what are you supposed to tell your friend? Be like, hey man, you want to go hit lunch? Yeah, dude, where are we headed? Like Cafe Sabor? No, we're going to this driveway down the road.
This dude has a dinette set out on his driveway.
Yeah, dude.
Little flat top.
Yeah, bro. So it was like this wild thing that happened. And then it just kept growing. And, we were doing private chef work in people's homes. We were doing anywhere from like 4 to 6 courses. And I'll go there and, and I'll introduce the courses. I have a team.
See, I figured that's what you would have been doing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you were like,
"Oh,
we did this in my driveway."
Yeah, bro. We were doing it all. We were not stopping. We just knew we had to create, me and my wife. So yeah, we just got after it and never looked back. And now we're in a location.
Yeah,
which is wild.
So what's that transition going from no overhead to? And I don't know what the food truck overhead's like, but I'm sure it's less than a brick and mortar.
Oh,
and so
less.
what's that transition going to that from? Because I even hear like the food truck industry is not super easy. The restaurant industry as a whole is not easy. Mm-hmm. And then what you're doing, where it's like you're not the McDonald's, like anybody can cook a hamburger better than McDonald's.
Yeah.
But they're killing it.
They're
right.
Killing it.
And so
they're
it's like their whole game plan is, consistency at the cheapest possible.
Absolutely.
Right. Yep. And I'm not crapping on McDonald's, but that's just what it is.
Yeah, it is.
And so where you're trying to bring like quality foods, quality meat, a culture.
Yeah.
Like you keep saying vibing, right? Like the vibe you guys bring, even just your setup, even just the restaurant as a whole is cool. Like I was just looking at pictures of it.
Yeah.
And you've got like it's almost like little Instagram spots everywhere around the restaurant.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about like overhead differences, and just the changes you guys had to adjust to.
Yeah. First and foremost, like we even talked about bringing our food truck down here before we moved, right? So we kept it up there, moved. It was still there. I haven't sold it yet. The laws here are way different than Seattle. Like I couldn't just pull up over by George's, like on that corner where that bar is and stuff. Like I couldn't pull my food truck there at, say midnight and open up. Seattle, I could. I went bar to bar to bar to bar, all through the night until 4 a.m, and our laws allowed it. Once I found out like St. George haven't developed like either like a truck pod or anything like that, then I wasn't interested at that point. The overhead wasn't bad. Food trucks are a pain, dude. You got to prep them off of the truck. So you got to get a commissary somewhere. And then load them onto the truck, fill up your water, get your ice.
Right.
Like it's this whole thing.
RV, like
yeah, dude.
At that point.
Pretty much. And then you got to go to a dump station after, you have to do that whole thing. And then after, say you worked 10-hour day, you still got to unload all the food. Like, bro, the fridges don't work in there on its own, so a lot of times people bring them home, they plug them in, you got your 220 on the side.
Yeah.
It was just a hassle, right? In Seattle. And I do want to mention, even in all those accolades and everything with the food truck, it was probably the most depressing point in my life. Really? I hated operating a food truck. Hated it. I did everything in my power to get a food truck. Number one, wasn't the right time. Number two, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for how much fame the truck got, because it wasn't me. It was the truck.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So anyways, so we decided to sell it, not do that. Restaurant overhead. Yeah, man, you just got to find like good landlords, good things. But dude, St. George is growing. Everything's expensive. Inflation's a real thing. Yeah. Prices on our menu is a real thing. It's not like we're pricing everything stupid high to get stupid rich. Like we're pricing everything stupid high to stay balanced.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times there's like, because we have $12 burger on there. It doesn't come with fries or anything. And it is what it is. The ingredients on that, the preparations, the meat quality, like we built an experiential restaurant. we did not build a convenient restaurant. You know what I mean? And we
on
did
purpose. That's what I think's so cool about it.
We did it on purpose. And when you walk into the shop, like it's everything in the shop that you see is a story of my life. Like the names on the menu, right? The Sway Burger, it has chips on it. I'm from a neighborhood called Spanaway. We call it the Sway, right? It's like South Seattle. It's in the hood. Okay. You know what I mean? As a kid, we put ruffled chips on PB&Js. Like everyone did that, but it was like that. You remember biting into it, dude? And it was like the craziest texture. It was like, this is something new, something exciting. And I never could live without it. So I created a burger after it from a place that I'm from. So if you start looking at the restaurant of whatever the words are on the wall or how it's designed, it's my entire life story painted in a restaurant, which I think super dope. It opens up that conversation. Yeah. They're like, oh, that's a cool mural. Yeah, but that mural, let me tell you what that mural is about. Or these milk crates that are hanging from our ceiling with ferns coming down, right? A milk crate in the kitchen life is our seat. That's our office. That's where you take your break. You know, we don't get to go sit out in the dining room with everybody else. Like they're like, yo, dude, hit the alley, you know, go rip a couple cigs, like do what you gotta do. And then we used to build like couches out of this stuff. You know what I mean? So I had to put it in the restaurant. But the overhead is what it is, man. You just got to get creative. And is it nerve-wracking? Sure. Hell yeah, it is. What's more nerve-wracking to me is the what if. Like if I died and never opened that, like because I was scared of a number, bro, whatever. Right. Like just do it.
Well, so dude, I love that mentality. I grew up ultra conservative, scared to do anything, didn't want to wreck your credit score. You don't want to fail. You don't want to do all this stuff, right? And it's really been the last few years that I've kind of tried, like I've been stepping out of that, right? Yeah. And so it's funny because you just say it, no, it's nonchalant, right? Like, yeah. It's like, well, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, dude. Like, really, are you just going to sit there and look at it and like, I don't know. I can't live like that. I'm not wired like that. Like at one point I was, especially when like the kids were young, right? But like I'm budgeting for these diapers and the wipes and the formula, like to keep them literally alive. I have to budget for that. They're older and I think it has to do with just the path we've been on. There's from construction to cooking to this to that. Like if anything ever were to happen to me in the cooking world, yeah, I got the skills to go back to construction. Sure.
Right.
You know, I can walk on to a job site. Great. Do I want to do that? Hell no.
Right.
So the risk actually lessens at that point. You know what I mean? Because I'm not scared of anything, you know, and it's a blessing, dude. It like our shop is super rad. It was at a part of town where people are like, bro, no one goes over there. You have to be in downtown. And I lived in downtown. I was like, yeah, you're probably right, but I can't afford a $10,000 lease, dude. Like, if numbers scare me, that freaking scares me on top of the labor, on top of the food. Like, we're paying out, what, 100 grand, 120 grand a month? I was like, bro, you guys are crazy. I was like, I'm going to hit it over on Sunset where no one is. Dude, 6 months into us operating and getting people over there, you know, and you got Wingstop, Chipotle,
all
that Habit. I was like, see, they know what I'm talking about. I was like, you guys are crazy down there.
Yeah.
So it's like just seeing the growth of Sunset and what that's looking like. It's just more comforting. Like the fear is gone now. Now it's like, what are we going to create? So
what was that? I mean, have you always had that confidence or that fear that they're being able to mitigate the fear? I mean, you've always been that way?
Yeah, man. When you're raised in the hood, like you got to face that day to day.
That's a good point.
Like from school to life in general to seeing, you know, my friends' parents to just mine alone. Like you have to navigate yourself and you have to move in a different way. When you're raised in a city, you just move different ways, man.
I've got this quote I just pulled up, and I've read it on here before, I believe. I've read it in some of the talks that I've done.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's exactly what you just said. So Les Brown says this, and he talks about the graveyard. Have you heard this? So he says, the graveyard is the richest place on earth because it is here that you will find the hopes and dreams that were never fulfilled, the books that were never written, the songs that were never sang, the inventions that were never shared, the cures that were never discovered, all because someone was scared to take a risk.
Absolutely.
And so I heard that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And that was kind of part of that switch for me.
Yeah.
And so when people talk about being scared, I'm like, yeah, dude, don't do it.
Yeah.
The graveyard is the richest place on earth.
Yeah.
And like, I've never memorized the whole quote. That's why I pulled it up on my phone. But in my head, I'm like, graveyard's the richest place on earth.
I can relate to that, man. It is. It's just don't be scared, man. Just do what you want to do and try your best at it. Be a freaking good person and grind.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Taking that, kind of going back to your schooling, where did you benefit from having your minor in business? The reason I ask is because I think a lot of people jump into entrepreneurship, starting a business, and I did this. I mean, and when people talk to me, I'd never went to college.
Yeah.
When people ask me about college, I say, if I were to do it again, I'd probably try to take a couple, and I don't know, maybe it would have benefited me, maybe it wouldn't have, I don't know. But taking a couple business classes to help me, to set me up of actually running numbers, running a business. I just group it into overhead, right? But like everything. Yeah. So what did you benefit from that? Or did you see any benefit?
I don't think there's much benefit. I think it actually switches to your conservative mindset in a sense. Like the business aspect of it, you have to be conservative, at least a fraction, right? And just understanding the budgets and things like that, where you can and can't play. So that was a benefit seeing that. But this day and age, man, it's like, bro, I'm going to pay this accountant for all of these books and we're going to have a meeting once a week or once a month or however you want to set it up, right? There's more people smarter than you in this world that I want to learn from, and I know where to delegate these types of tasks. Like my job, and I know I need to be in the kitchen. I need to create, I need to cook. Like that's my role. If for somebody to try and balance the books, and obviously you go in with, you're looking at what their office has to offer. Who are they as people? Because tons of CPAs, man, burn freaking businesses, right? Yeah, so it's making sure you're just, creating that relationship with somebody where you're going to trust that. But honestly, the business side of things, cool. Sure. It's nothing I'm going to go get a major in. I have I'll just delegate it over here and try and learn from the people that have went to school. So I would say it's just more conservative mindset for me.
I think that's a big lesson because I think a lot of the entrepreneurship, and usually it's like you find a problem, you create the solution, you create the product, you create whatever it is. Yeah. And that creation, like you're talking, yours is food. Yeah. And then people think they have to run the books and do the taxes. And maybe the first couple of years you do. I don't know. I mean, depending on what industry you're in. But that's something I had learned recently too, man. Like I had buddies that were CPAs and I finally just called one day and I'm like, dude, my stuff's, it's not like, this isn't online, QuickBooks or whatever it is. Like I need someone to actually look at this. Yeah. And it was and I didn't even want to ever do it, but just handing that off to someone else. So that's a huge thing that I think young entrepreneurs fail in is, dude, there's people better than you out there. Yeah. And you need to budget having that in your business plan too, of farming out those things that maybe you're not great at, whether, even if like you, I mean, and I don't know how your business runs. So you're in the kitchen doing everything. Do you have I'm assuming you have like front end managers and different people that are fulfilling those other roles, right? Yep. So how does it work in there? How many people work there? How many people are there day to day?
On it, I think we lost a couple going into summer, but we were at like 24 people running a 4-tabled restaurant. We just got into, so my wife handles all front of house.
Got you.
Right. We hit a point a couple weeks ago that we're like, we need a front of house manager. Right. So we're open 9 months. We did I would say we built a pretty good foundation on the business. Now it was time to delegate and grow other people into new roles, career opportunities, things like that. So we got a front of house manager. I have 2 sous chefs, one at day, one at night. And we're just teaching them the business. We're teaching them how to do inventory. We're teaching them how to budget. We're teaching them, who to call if you have an emergency. So now we're giving the tools off to these other people. Not because we're lazy by any means, right?
Right.
Because we want to grow you.
Yes.
We want you to learn something new. Like I could be here and do this all day long. Sure, I could put in the orders and you can never know what's going on and you're going to be stuck that line cook forever.
Right.
We don't want that. Like we just want to grow people. We want to learn how to grow. We want to work on our business, more now than in our business, and just work on people. So,
well, and all it does is benefit you in the end, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a byproduct, I guess I should say. Like,
absolutely.
You're about bringing other people up. And like you said in the beginning, like there's the steps in a restaurant, right?
Yeah, man.
And so that's what you're doing. Like you're bringing those people up to learn those things.
Yep.
That's awesome. And then it's like, dude, I'm focusing on you because I want you to be better.
Absolutely.
Sure. In turn, my business probably runs more efficient.
Yeah.
But I'm really, my focus is I'm trying to better you.
Yeah. I feel like if you don't invest in the people with you day in, day out, like you won't have a business very long, and you see owners, unfortunately, just, what's the profits? Like, I don't care if you worked a double. I don't care if you were here at 8 a.m. and you're leaving at 2 a.m., closing my restaurant. People really don't care.
Yeah.
So just, invest in the people, teach the people. And then I know when I need help. And that's when I went to a CPA and said, okay, teach me something. Right. So now me and my CPA, like we have this relationship now where it's just like, okay, we're here with our business. Our next move can be this if you want to do this. Or it's like, hey, I'm looking at, say, a second location, third location. What do we have to do? And they're so smart, man. And they're like, okay, with the numbers wise and, the spreadsheets and all that, like they're just busting it out. And Excel for me I'm just lost. Like, bro, it just looks like a blank piece of paper. Like, what do you mean I can enter this into the cell times this by this? Like, bro, like cool, but like my mind will never go there. So yeah, I knew.
One thing we've had a couple chefs on. Well, we've had one other chef on.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed about chefs is they're almost like we talked about it a little bit, maybe it was before we got on, but just being obsessed with it, right? Being obsessed with the food industry. But it seems like to me that you're like an artist, like you're creating artwork. Like when you were talking about even just your space, like everything in here is tied to me at some point, right?
Yep.
Menu, words on the walls.
Yep.
I mean, where does that passion come from? So, and the reason I'm asking this, dude, is because I tell people all the time, like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like I'm working jobs that make money.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm trying to get different streams of income. Like I'm trying to do these things.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have that passion for anything I do. I'll be honest.
Yeah, of course.
So like, where does that come from, do you think? And how did you find that? I mean, were you just, we kind of talked about the food thing in the beginning, but like, where do you think that comes from?
Honestly, I think it's grown and developed into what it is now from just trial and errors. And then I just had to ask my question is like when you cook, there comes a certain point after cooking for a bunch of chefs and learning from different mentors and things like that, where you now have a style within food or what you're doing. You created your own style, whether you're cooking somebody else's menu or not. I think a lot of it is just mentors. Like, who are you walking life with? Who's ahead of you, doing something that inspires you? Because I feel like we could scroll and look through your phone and you can get inspired by a million different things, right? I'm inspired by these barn doughs that I've been seeing lately. But it's just like, what story did I want to tell? I've been doing foods for so long. Now I'm trying to shape my story where I can, or where the community can understand what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? So it's just the community's helping me tell this story. The food's helping me tell the story. Everything in my life is just developing around this food. Is just passion. Like the people, whether it's, hey man, this was great, or hey man, this sucked because of this reason. You just fueled my fire. Like, okay, like take another seat. Like we're going to talk. And it's just passion, dude. It's just ongoing, I'm finding it every day is what I'm trying to say, through music, through other people's work, through conversations, meeting new people, through gardeners or anything like that. I find it everywhere.
Is this in this? Because maybe this just hit me. So let me ask you. Maybe it's a stupid question. I don't know, but I'm wondering if me growing up. I mean, I grew up in St. George, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have any of that here. We don't, like you were saying in Seattle, you're researching chefs, you're going to these different places, and like we don't have that here.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's almost a product of how I grew up, because I get so interested when I'm around people like you,
Right.
where I'm like, man, dude, we're like
I want that.
yeah, but that existed in Seattle. Like that doesn't exist here. Like it's being built here, I believe.
It is.
And I think you're like, people like you are a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So do you think that, is there correlation to that? Do you think like you grew up that way and I never even thought that was a thing?
Yeah, dude.
Does that make sense?
That could be the answer, honestly. Like just, thinking about from childhood to where I am now, like the path of that. I'm very proud of that path. You know, struggles and everything. I'm proud of the path that I'm walked. I'm proud of where I'm from. You know, I wear Seattle hats. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my city. Dude, I think it's everywhere, to be honest. Like, I don't know strictly St. George or how you grew up, but
I mean, dude, we were jacked when we got Wendy's. You know what I'm saying? Like there wasn't anything else to go eat. Like,
I couldn't imagine. But for me, if I were to grow up here, like my passion would probably lie within just farming, bro. I would find passion in farming and, you know, raising cattle and doing that whole thing and have vegetable gardens and all of that. But it definitely has to do with influencers and mindsets in my mind. I don't know if there was influencers ever coming out of St. George, you know, when you were growing up or any big thing, but they were constantly in Seattle, just influencer after influencer. But now looking at St. George, they're freaking everywhere here.
Yeah.
Dude, everyone's doing something, which is a beautiful thing, dude. So I would say just from when I was born to who I am, I'm proud of the path that I was on. And I'm proud of, you know, my mom being a server, you know, in the restaurant. You know, she had me when she was 15, right? She had like I went to junior high and high school with her, right? She's carrying me around. Like, I'm proud of that story. Like, what a strong woman she was to do that for me.
Right.
You know, and then I'm sitting in the restaurant waiting for, you know, somebody to come pick me up to take me home. Dude, like so sick, so inspiring. So I think it's really looking down, like how you were raised and your environment and just being proud of that. Like, yeah, I'm from St. George, like so dope, you know, cause I love it here. I talk to a lot of people, right. I don't think I will and I've traveled the country. And a lot of times I talk to people, especially you know, ones that we hired, they're like, yeah, born and raised in St. George. Can't wait to leave. Like, bro, you have it all here. Yeah. Like, it's gorgeous here, man. So,
well, that's the thing is when you like, and I realized this too, like I was never a, hey, look how cool that rock is kind of guy. Like I was never that guy, but then you leave St. George for a while and then you come back, like you're driving in like, and this is what reminds me of it every time. So over the last couple of years, I've done a lot of runs to Las Vegas for one of my businesses to get product. Yeah. And then you're coming back from Vegas and you're starting to hit like that South St. George coming through the freeway. Yeah, dude. And it's like red and purples and like all these different colors. And you're just like, man, I mean, at least know where I've been. I'm like, you just don't get this.
You don't. Like, we're just missing the ocean, but it's all right. Yeah. It's a short drive. But dude, I agree with you. Like, we recently moved from downtown to Ivins.
Oh yeah.
That Red Rock has, bro, the Red Rock has some power on it. Like, you could feel energy. And it's crazy. You can go up to Salt Lake and then, you know, as soon as like you're driving south, like once you start seeing red rocks, you're almost home. Yeah. You don't even need a clock, dude. You just, here's the rocks changing. Here's that landscape. So I'm inspired by that.
So what's your acceptance of the Dixie chicken? Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So tell me about that, because there is that huge like Dixie State College, you know, the Dixie thing that everyone's having issues with all of a sudden. So,
hey man, Yeah.
And it's funny because I saw it on your website and I was like, oh, like that's a good idea. Like I thought you were playing off the Dixie thing.
No, man.
Right?
No.
So I'm glad that you brought that up because
no idea. It's all love, no drama for me. Like when everything kind of started going down, it was just like, I don't know. I didn't pay any attention to it. I thought our chicken sandwich was funny from Dixie Chicks, dude.
Yeah,
You know what? All of the women in our family after Thanksgiving, and this is just a tradition. This isn't anything else. Would like do dishes and things like that or whatever, and they would just crank the Dixie Chicks all night long, dude. It was like their time. They connected so well, and it just brought so much energy, and I always loved that. And there's nothing more comfortable in my mind is just fried chicken sandwich. Like it hits on the soul of everything, of the food, of the traditions, the Southern traditions, Northern traditions. Like everybody loves eating a fried chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just tied on to really just watching my mom laugh in the kitchen and with her sisters and stuff, dude. Like that's all it tied it to me.
What do you think, having your background from Seattle and from that vibe and everything back there, what do you think St. George can do to try to bring some of that positivity and some of that energy here?
Yeah, you got to grow up at some point. Like your mindset has to grow. You know, the fact that like weed is a felony here, I think.
Sure.
Bro, that's wild to me, man. Like I can't even wrap my head around it. Yeah, I just growing up in the
legalize marijuana and we're Seattle.
Bro, we're good, bro. Like it's so crazy because like you could literally go and get an espresso at a shop, and somebody can be outside like super successful, right? Your net worth is millions. Just out there with his coffee and his joint, and he's just talking to a business partner in a meeting, and it's so normal. But I don't know, man. I think St. George is on the right trend. Right, where the infrastructure is getting bigger. We're bringing in cool restaurants. We're doing things for the community. You know, that farmers market downtown, I got some buddies that are cooking in it, and they're just saying it's blowing up. You know, they got 120 vendors there. You know, the traffic there is just getting so thick, which is when I moved to town, like that farmers market had like 5 booths. You know, they're just starting out. So I think St. George is definitely growing up in that mindset and what they need to do. You know, you've got Utah Tech just transitioning into D1, you know, whatever that's going to look like. So in my mind, you need to either have like a night experience for these kids, because these kids are going to pick a college depending on what's happening around.
Sure.
Dude. Like, I'm not going to be 19 and be like, all right, I can go to UCLA or I can go to St. George, Utah. You know what I mean? Like what, like you're comparing like what you have to offer for those schools.
It's the same thing for like the Utah Jazz. Like they say that's why they can't ever retain any free agents, because there's no nightlife. There's nothing to do.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Dude, and no one wants to just go in their house at 9 o'clock and just hunker down, unless you're old like me. Like, dude, 9 o'clock,
I love doing that,
bro.
shit.
Like, dude, it could be 7:30. I'm like, all right, I'm calling it for the day. See you guys later. You know what I mean? So,
but we're not 19-year-old college kids.
We're not. You know, but if I was 19, that's what I'm looking for.
Sure.
Dude, honestly, in my mind, it's cool to see St. George growing. I know a lot of people have some feelings about it. The traffic is definitely a thing. You know, there's just so many people
for the small town. Yeah.
For the small town. And I see it on Sunset a lot driving into work. It's just backed up, road construction. But we're getting nicer roads. They're investing into the infrastructure. Seattle, bro, you could have a boulder in the middle of the road. We're going to leave it. You know, just drive around that thing.
Around
you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. So it's really cool to see that Washington Fields is blowing up tremendously. So, you know, they're doing
there.
Yeah, it's
Give it
getting there.
some time.
Dude,
Is that what you're saying?
honestly, I wish it would stay small town. Like, and this is so cliche. If somebody moving from big city, be like, hey, I want your small town to stay the same
While I move here.
I move here. Like, hey, wait for me.
Yeah. After I'm there, you can stop growing.
Yeah, absolutely. But
no, I'm with you.
it's cool.
I'm the same way. Like growing up here.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with buddies that we grew up here, and it's like, dude, St. George is just getting too big for us.
Yeah.
And I think that, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but as long as you can open your mind to like a lot of the cool things that are moving here, like none of this stuff existed when we were in high school, right? No. And so like, while the areas that we used to go ride 4-wheelers and shoot rabbits don't exist either.
Right.
So it's like this trade-off of, okay, well, look at the other things that it has to offer as well.
Yep. Right? I agree with that. Growth is opportunity and opportunity is growth. You know what I mean? And it's like all these people moving in here, you may have never have met like these. It's so accessible to meet a business owner or a successful person face to face. Like that does not exist in the world. You'll have like private country clubs that all these people are meeting at, or, they have their own little area. St. George is free for all, dude. Yeah. It's like you're meeting everybody at your fingertips that can change your life tomorrow. I love that. Like just the unknown, the opportunities, like you got to take them. So, and you can't take it without the growth of the city. So,
do you follow Justin Prince? Do you know who Justin Prince is? You need to follow him. I'll share his information with you. He's been on here. Yeah. He's traveled the world speaking. I'm going to butcher his like scroll of things he's accomplished, right? But couple billion in sales. He travels with John C. Maxwell. They do leadership stuff all over the world. Yeah. And he lives here. And so I've had the opportunity to be around him a handful of times. And he's even just spoke at events that I've been at. Yeah. And his big message, at least recently, is be the one. And like he listened to you talk, and then you just briefly mentioned your dad and your mom's situation. Yeah. But that's what he talks about, dude, is be the one. Be the one in that lineage that changed everything. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so like, and maybe that's your mom. Maybe it's not even you, right? Like maybe it's your mom.
It's all my mom. Seriously.
Right. And so like, I mean, it can also, you can continue that, right? Yep. But when you're sitting there talking about that, I thought, dude, like that's what you are. Like, so I would, if I were you, dude, I'd follow him, but go listen to a couple of his speeches about being the one. Yeah. And I think it'll put a lot of that in perspective. Yeah. Not that you're unaware of it.
Well, I'm going to tell him I'm the one. And then we got a real conversation that's about to happen.
No, Justin's a stud, dude. Like
that's
everything, awesome. I try to consume as much as I can. And it's cool because exactly what you're saying, dude. He's not hanging out at some country club, right? Or some boys club, whatever. Yeah. Like he's just around town. Yep. And you run into him. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. We offer these classes at the shop. So we call the restaurant the shop, called Leadership Lean In. And that gives me a time, right? So talking about leadership, there's 4 levels of being a leader until you master it, if you will, right? So first step is leading yourself. This is the hardest thing to do. You get no accolades for leading yourself. You get no pats on the back. Like it is strictly self-work. Either it's books, podcasts, communication, whatever, right? And then it's leading others. And then you learn how to lead leaders and then leading organizations. So I teach my cooks and everyone in my restaurant how to become this leader because it's important, man. I don't think anybody should ever go through life like not wanting to be a leader or being a leader. Like you should never just float in the pond. You know what I mean? Like lead us, let's build a raft and get out of this thing. So
you should always be progressing, right?
You have to.
We'll talk about that a little bit. So what's the structure? Is that open to everyone? Is it just your tell me about that. I'm interested in that.
Yeah. So I think we're going to start opening it up to the public. For right now, it was like a way for me to inspire our organization and the people working with us. Like, wow, we get to go through these leadership classes and we're being taught these things on like what we can and can't do, for self or others or the leaders or whatever it is. Like, they're learning all these things. So now they communicate on the line and with each other a lot different than when they first started because of these classes. And because like, I'm just dumping in this information, whether it's going to retain or not, like they're doing it. And I've watched, I'm going to shout them out. I met this kid. So I took over the chef job at Cliffside for 6 months, right? They wanted this change. They wanted, new and improved. They wanted to get in kind of with the times. Why wouldn't you, right? Sure. You see St. George and, you're definitely an older restaurant. So you kind of want to make that change. But anyways, got hired on. I met this kid named Judge Hafen. He was hired on as a dishwasher. You know, I'm thinking nothing of him. So whatever happened, like this connection between me and Judge, like I loved this kid. He was young, he's ambitious. The work ethic was just unmatched. And he was quirky and just rough around the edges, man. I just, whatever, loved this kid. Like just drilled him for like 2 years, just making him a better person and trying to show him different ways, tactics. And he's been to a bunch of these leadership lean-ins and kind of seen what I've done here in St. George kind of progress. He is now the sous chef at my restaurant right now, from dishwasher to sous chef, works harder than anybody that I know, cooks better. Like he's just getting it, man. But it's like the motivation, what I'm speaking to him about the leadership, like he wants that in his own life. Bro started going to the gym every morning, and he's, you know, trying to do, you know, get in shape and have a better, healthy life, you know, with work and, you know, providing for his parents or his girlfriend or whatever. Bro, it's the coolest thing to see, man. Like this leadership just in general, or anytime you can go to a seminar of leadership or, you know, go talk or listen to your buddy speak, like do it. Like I know a guy named Aaron Wagner, you know, he lives in Wags Capital, you know.
I'm aware of him.
Yeah. So I just went up to his place a couple of weeks ago because he was speaking. It was just him and his buddies, and they were just all talking about leadership. Threw me the invite, and I was like, dude, I'm going to drive up there and back in the same day just so I can hear an hour of something. You know, and that's crazy to say, like, hey, I'm going to drive up there in hopes to find whatever. But I did, man, and it inspired me, and I drove back, and a whole way home, you know, I'm just running through my head. So anytime you can do anything in leadership, take that for sure.
So the first step when you were talking about that, it kind of seems like I talk a lot about, you know, taking ownership of things, right? Being self-aware.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's kind of step one in what you're trying to get across. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Yeah. See, we're the same age.
Perfect.
And like talking to you, it's evident that all of that is there. Like when you're communicating, I'm just like, man, he is very aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you're real, dude. I like it. I like even just having this conversation.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. We're actually at an hour, so it goes fast.
It's been flowing, bro. Like we're on a good track. Can we do another hour?
Mallory, where are you at on time?
Let it rip, man.
Let it rip. So yeah, man, it's I appreciate that, bro.
No, you're
Seriously.
real, dude. I love that we're two different walks of life.
Yeah.
Grew up totally different. You got tattoos, I don't.
Yep.
So we wanted to show off your tattoo. Blake, producer, said make sure that we show it off.
Yeah. You gotta get it a little bit.
That thing's cool. Who did that? Let's shout him out because he's here, right?
Yeah, this is my boy Matt Fearson. He owns Zion Tattoo Company. Right before you get on the highway, I think that road's called Bluff. Yeah, that's Bluff, Sunset to Bluff.
Yep.
Right down there at the end, man. Super rad dude. You know, I think he's world champion in jiu-jitsu or something. Like
really,
this dude's massive. Like this dude, so intimidating, but like he's so precise with his art.
Oh, it looks amazing.
He's like so soft, and dude, I love having conversations with this guy. I learned a ton actually from him.
Let's get him in here.
We need to get him in here. Seriously, his story's wild too.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to link that up.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else you want to bring up, talk about, questions for me, anything?
Dude, I just enjoy the conversation. I honestly, like, I met you an hour and 10 minutes ago. You know, and we created something within that time. Man, I appreciate who you are. I appreciate you having me on your show. Seriously, bottom of my heart.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dude, seriously, come back anytime.
Hey, I will. For sure.
Throw out like social medias for the shop. I was going to call it the restaurant. Yeah. For the shop, maybe follow you, whatever you got out there, throw it out so people can follow you.
Yeah. For the shop, it's _street eats _. For myself, it's at Cory the Creator. And then I just only do Instagram, dude. I'm too old to do all the other stuff. These kids are extra with the TikToks and the snaps and the Facebooks and. Bro, send me an email. You know, don't
write me a letter.
Write me a letter, like, or just follow me on Instagram, man. I'll talk to you through there.
One more time, address of Street Eats,
Yeah.
anything else you want to throw in, hours, whatever.
Yeah, so we're open Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to 9. Our address is, man, I don't know, 1118 West Sunset Boulevard or 1812. 1812 West.
1812?
Yeah, 1812 West Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, that
Suite
UPS
2.
store is kind of what's viewed from the street,
Yep.
and you're right next to it, right?
Right next to
Yeah.
it. I got the biggest sign on the block. You cannot miss me.
Yeah.
And the crowds of people on the patio. Just follow the smells, man.
Yeah,
All right.
I looked it up. 1812 West Sunset.
1812
See?
West.
I don't
Unit
even
2.
know.
You don't
Yeah.
need to, dude.
I
You
don't
where
even
the
know my
sign's at.
address. I just show up.
All right, Cory, dude, appreciate you. Thanks for coming in.
You got
Thanks for spending an hour with me, hour and a half ish once
Yeah.
we start to stop. But yeah, dude, you own episode 97.
Here I am. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, guys, episode 97. I know you enjoyed it. If you're still with us, for sure, share, like, go follow Cory, go eat at the restaurant or the shop, and go check it out. Even like I was just scrolling the website, and I mean, there's just cool things to go be a part of. It's a culture inside of there. It's not a restaurant. So appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week.